Starting our story today is while in Frankfurt on Main, Germany, Sarah was at a playground with her young son Josh, and she noticed the noise of a helicopter passing overhead. Abruptly, she started remembering her experiences while on a mission in Afghanistan. At that moment, a man arguing with his companions accidentally collided with her. She struck him in the face and skillfully immobilized him. She swiftly recognized her actions upon seeing her son, prompting her to apologize and release the man. Several years passed, and Sarah was bringing her son to her workplace when an alert came through on her phone. After checking the alert, the caller identified himself as an investigative journalist, stating he had fresh information regarding her time in Afghanistan. He had forwarded a video to her as proof. Sarah began to view the video but couldn't comprehend its contents. All at once, she scanned the area and discovered her son was gone. She became frantic, but thankfully Josh was merely standing quietly in a corner. She rapidly approached him, instructing him to remain by her side as she feared losing him. Shortly thereafter, they reached the location of the U.S. Consulate building. It was revealed she had secured employment with a security firm in the U.S. and desired to relocate there for work, while also allowing Josh to be nearer to his paternal relatives. His father had been an American who perished during an operation in Afghanistan. She had not completely healed from that bereavement, though she continued to do her best to manage. Following the completion of forms and awaiting their flight, Josh remained playful, so Sarah took him to the kids area for a short time while she waited in the hallway for their flight announcement. Once the flight number was announced, Sarah hurried back to retrieve her son. However, upon reaching the play area, she could not locate Josh. She began searching the vicinity and shouting his name, yet she found no sign of him. She then started to become distraught and alerted the security staff, suggesting her son could be inside one of the offices. The security personnel lacked the authorization to inspect the rooms. Consequently, she was brought to Eric, the chief of regional security. He unlocked the offices so she could look for her son, yet, having examined multiple rooms, she remained unable to locate him. She began weeping and holding herself responsible for leaving Josh unattended for that brief period. Eric shared an anecdote about his own young daughter to soothe her and assured her they would assist in finding her son. Afterward, the whole security force was mobilized to check every part of the building for the child, but they discovered nothing. Sarah recalled observing a man and a woman holding a bag, suspecting they might be involved with her son's disappearance. She begged Eric to unlock the door behind him, but he declined, explaining it was a restricted, high-security zone. He accompanied her to his office, where Eric examined her work history, found out she was a veteran, and expressed gratitude for her national service. Donovan, a member of the security staff, informed Sarah that she had been by herself when she entered the building earlier that day. Donovan provided her the roster of individuals who had entered that day, and only her name was on it. She refused to accept the list's accuracy, insisting her son was playing in the hallway and interacted with people, including him, but he refuted this. She contended that security cameras must have recorded something, yet Donovan claimed he had reviewed them and only she had come into the consulate. Following this, she was compelled to contact the German police regarding her missing child, and the police indicated they were already aware of the situation. Nevertheless, German authorities were prohibited from entering the consulate because it was deemed a diplomatic property where Germans lacked jurisdiction. At present, she was required to exit the building, and they would determine a method to handle the situation. Sarah declined, arguing that if she departed, she would be denied re-entry and would be unable to locate her son. Realizing the conversation was unproductive, Sarah disconnected the call and attempted to force her way from the office, only to be brought to the ground by Eric. She was compelled to await the arrival of German police to escort her from the consulate. Sarah remained with Donovan, but he abruptly took a call and hurried away to address it. Taking advantage of the moment, Sarah manipulated the lock and opened the door to flee. To evade capture by the building's security, she exited through a window and attempted a jump to the opposite side, but sadly, she fell. Smashing through a ventilation access point, she re-entered the building via a hallway and forced her way into a guest room. Inside, she discovered Irina, a Russian woman detained as a political refugee. Noticing that Sarah was able to navigate the building undetected, Inria proposed to help her in return for aid in escaping the facility. Reports of Sarah moving freely within the building reached Consul General Deborah. Upon examining her file, Deborah wished to apprehend her at once, but Eric contended it was not required. He asserted that taking Sarah into custody would greatly harm Deborah's standing. Eric insisted that he would manage the situation personally. Sarah reasoned that the sole exit route from the building was via an internal warehouse, and her primary suspects remained the two enigmatic individuals with the bag. She attempted to overpower a guard to acquire his key card, enabling them to navigate the building freely. They succeeded in accessing a secluded room where Sarah observed a storage unit bearing a symbol resembling the one on the bag. She recognized it from the people involved in the prior exchange. She shattered the lock, and inside the bag, she discovered some type of flower, concluding they were just smugglers. The pair went back to the guest room carrying a bag. Sarah speculated that maybe her son Josh had witnessed something during the transaction. This would be the reason they abducted him, to ensure his silence. The two were debating fiercely when a rap on the door stopped them. Irina went to investigate, and two Russian assassins forced their way in to assault her. Luckily, Sarah was close by and immediately started to combat one of them. Regrettably, she took a blow to the face and experienced a momentary lapse. She swiftly recovered and utilized her close combat abilities to neutralize the first assailant. Irina successfully fashioned a makeshift flamethrower, burning the other assailant, which let Sarah dispatch the feral one. As she attempted to follow Irina, Sarah was trapped by Donovan and administered a sedative, making her lose consciousness. Upon regaining consciousness, Sarah discovered she was restrained to a bed. She instantly started recounting everything to Deborah, mentioning her meeting with Irina. Deborah responded that she was worried about her, noting Sarah's mother had phoned previously to state Sarah had a medical issue causing delusions. Deborah asserted that Sarah's allegations about her missing son and the meeting with Irina were fabricated. Sarah found this hard to believe and asked for the security footage to verify Deborah's statement. Eric displayed the camera recordings, which depicted her moving unaccompanied through the building and striking a security guard. Deborah implied that she might be imagining events, and assured her the German police would come the next morning to settle matters. When she awoke again, Irina was disguised as an employee and attempting to release her. Sarah, now questioning her own perception, asked if Irina was real. To demonstrate her authenticity, Inria recounted her personal history. They were formerly the wealthiest family in Belarus. Her father was a known criminal engaged in money laundering and also a government official. After he changed allegiances, it frightened his previous associates, who ultimately murdered him. Had Inria not reached the US embassy in Minsk aided by the CIA, she also would have been killed. The concealed USB drive held all the proof, and Russian agents were determined to retrieve it. This situation was the reason she had been trapped there for months. Not long ago, Donovan approached Irina inquiring about her passport, which alerted her that something was amiss. Sarah remained unconvinced of Irina's existence following the evidence from the camera recordings. Therefore, Irina had to attempt to harm herself to establish her reality. Sarah prevented her, and they exited the room via the window to evade the surveillance cameras. They navigated through the crowd unnoticed by anyone until they found themselves inside a conference room. Irina used the Consulate's internet to send a message, expecting the duffel bag's owner to appear and claim it. Shortly afterward, they got a notification from Zoomer requesting a meeting. The involved parties concurred on meeting in the cafeteria, deeming it the most unlikely spot. When they met the flower's owner, he assured her that upon getting the package, he would lead her to her son. Just then, Sarah perceived something unusual about the man's behavior. Consequently, she determined he was being dishonest and was unaware of her son's location. Therefore, Sarah requested his assistance in locating her son, given his high-level security clearance as Consulate IT staff. Sarah required a layout of the facility and an access key card for the building in exchange for his bag. He instructed Sarah to find him in the men's washroom in 20 minutes. At that instant, Sarah saw Eric with his daughter across the cafeteria, but his attention was diverted when the surveillance room's camera feed went down. Eric departed hastily, unaware he had forgotten his daughter's walkie-talkie. Inside the men's restroom, the IT staffer informed Sarah he could introduce malware onto the server. This meant they had 1 hour to act freely before the cameras reactivated. He provided Sarah the floor plan and keycard as a trade for the bag. Sarah knocked him unconscious to create the appearance that she had deliberately assaulted him. Believing Donovan was the key to finding Josh, the pair proceeded to his office and started examining the computer. They were stunned to discover files detailing every aspect of Sarah's arrival at the consulate. It became clear that the entire situation had been orchestrated from the start. They opted to investigate the backgrounds of the consulate leaders, finding that Eric was also a military officer who served in Afghanistan and an expert on the Islamabad, Pakistan region. This implied the video Sarah possessed on her phone from the start was attempting to convey a message to her. Sarah chose to phone the journalist who provided the footage to get more details. The journalist informed her that Eric was a compromised operative, and despite attempts to prosecute him, he was always cleared. Currently, his new informant alleged Eric was behind the Afghanistan attack that resulted in the deaths of 8 soldiers, her husband among them. During their conversation, Donovan neared the office, compelling them to swiftly download a high-resolution screenshot of Eric with a terrorist. Sarah lunged to assault Donovan, allowing them to flee the office. Donovan pursued them, but the pair successfully escaped via an access point leading to the consulate roof. Irina enhanced the image related to the Islamabad incident, and Sarah remembered observing that man with Eric in Afghanistan during the war, though he was thought to be deceased. Information about Sarah getting the email got to Eric, and he departed to search for her. In the warehouse, Sarah advised Irina she could exit the consulate by concealing herself behind a truck as Sarah created a diversion for the armed soldiers. Sarah sprinted toward a truck, providing a chance for Irina to get onto it. Regrettably, a burst of gunfire made her collide with the truck. Having battled multiple security guards, she attempted to regain her breath, but Eric assaulted her. He struck her repeatedly before both of them tumbled into a pool. Eric attempted to submerge her, but Sarah managed to get away. She located the gun and aimed it at him, asking for her son's location. Eric admitted to having her son and confirmed the boy was presently unharmed. Sarah then questioned why Eric abducted her son, disclosing her knowledge of his plot with a terrorist in Islamabad. Concerned about her son, Sarah left to search for him. She altered her clothing for disguise. Having just 4 minutes until the servers reactivated, she assembled a makeshift explosive and set it off on one floor. The blast alerted Deborah. She commanded Eric to implement military protocol, dispatching personnel to locate Sarah and shoot her on sight. Every civilian inside the building was promptly evacuated, and Sarah located Aileen, Eric's daughter. She presented the walkie-talkie to the child, deceiving her into thinking her father had sent Sarah to get her. Sarah brought Aileen to a secure room and contacted Eric to tell him where they were. Eric reached the opposite side of the safe room, where Sarah demanded he release her son. She explained the safe room was steel reinforced, operable only from within, and blasting it open might harm his daughter. Drilling was not viable, as the room's oxygen supply would deplete before they could finish. If Eric wished to see his daughter safe, he needed to produce Sarah's son. Deborah attempted to bargain with Sarah for the girl's release, but Sarah declined. She informed Deborah that Deborah was unaware of what Eric was concealing from everyone. Feeling she couldn't continue holding a child hostage, Sarah agreed to free her, provided Eric entered the safe room to talk. Following the swap, Sarah implored Eric, stating she was willing to sacrifice her life regarding his secrets. Her sole request was that he, at minimum, free her son and deliver him to her mother. In response, Eric deactivated the intercom system, preventing outsiders from listening. He revealed they were the ones who assisted Sarah in obtaining the U.S. job, ensuring she would visit the consulate. Eric needed to abduct her son and delete the camera footage to frame the event as Sarah being delusional. Sarah inferred he could readily kill her, as she was the only witness to the Afghanistan incident. The plan would have succeeded if Irina had been eliminated by the 2 assassins, allowing Eric to pin Irina's death on Sarah. However, they misjudged Sarah, who had dispatched both assassins. Eric proceeded to shoot her, simultaneously wounding himself and giving Sarah the weapon. He fled the safe room, shouting that Sarah was armed, losing excessive amounts of blood. Her life replayed in her mind as she remembered the time in Afghanistan with her husband. The operation proceeded as intended until an ambush occurred, and all participants perished that day, excluding her. Returning to the present, Sarah refused to surrender and struggled toward the door just before it was breached by gunfire. It was revealed she had been recording her discussion with Eric all along and transmitted it via the intercom for everyone to hear. When this was heard, Donovan escaped, while Eric was apprehended in the act. A team was sent to retrieve Josh. and Sarah was at last reunited with her son. We appreciate you watching the whole movie. Please remember to like and subscribe to the channel for additional excellent films.